What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble, and welcome to two more shmups. Oh yes, you guys know I love my shmups around here, and I've got two new releases for you, this one and the video coming after this, that are both very different, but very good in their own different ways. And, well, this is the first one here, and it's actually a sequel that you wouldn't necessarily expect. So this is Valfaris Mecha Therion, and those of you who've been around here for a long time may remember when I covered the original Valfaris, which was actually not a shmup, it was a platformer, and I kind of phrased it as, what if someone took a metal album cover and made a platformer out of it? Well, this is if someone took a metal album cover and made a shmup out of it. And it's also a sequel to the original game, so the developer is definitely trying their hand at something very different with this sequel, which I appreciate. I think that's pretty cool. And now you're going to see there's a couple of saves here. Full disclosure, I was actually a beta tester for this game, not compensated or approached in any way. The developer put out a public call for testers, and I said, hey, I like shmups, and they went, cool, here you go. So I've actually technically beaten this, but it was that test version, and there probably have been a few changes between here and there. But I am going to start this over here so that you guys can see it from the beginning. So there's 3 difficulty levels there. And this shmup's a little bit different because it is the sequel to a story-based game. It's not a traditional shmup. There's no scoring system in this at all. There is an upgrade system, but there's no scores, no leaderboards, no anything like that. The point of this is to go through the story and the different levels that tie into that, much like the original Valfaris. I love that game. I thought Valfaris was super cool. I actually haven't finished it yet, which is totally on me, but it is a very good game. And when I first saw this was announced, I was like, this is cool. The dev is really trying to do something different with their sequel, and you don't see that very often, which I appreciate. And as the shmup, I will say that this one is pretty cool. For the price, it's a little bit short, if I'm honest. So I think if you are going to pick this up at full price, you probably want to intend to play it over multiple times. Either to get all the upgrades, which we'll talk about later, I'll skip the tutorial, or to play it on higher difficulties, something like that, which I think I'm going to actually do. Since I beat the test version of this on normal, I might try to beat the full version on hard. We'll see about that. So yeah, you're seeing what this looks like here. This has kind of an interesting look. It is 3D, but it's this kind of chunky 3D. I don't really know what era to call this. It kind of is PS1 looking a little bit, but smoother than that, if you know what I mean. So it's got an interesting look, but it is a 3D game, and you will see perspective change occasionally, usually during cutscenes and things like that. And as you can see, well, it's metal as hell. The soundtrack to this game is all metal through and through, and it's excellent, I might add. I think it's a perfect companion to this. And it has this very almost H.R. Giger-like type design to the enemies and the environments. This very interesting color palette that's not typical of what you see. It's very neon-y, but as you can see, there's purples and blues in it. Different levels will have very different color palettes and tones to them, but it doesn't look realistic. It feels like almost like a comic book that it's trying to very much have its own unique style. And I like that. I think that's really cool. So as you go along here, you will pick up different weapons and modules and abilities. And as you'll see in a little bit here, you have an opportunity to upgrade all those and also to customize your character's loadout. And the cool thing about that is that you can actually do it mid-mission. You don't have to do it in between missions. You can do it at any checkpoint, which I think is really neat. So you have an actual, like a projectile weapon that you're seeing here, and you also have a melee weapon. Now you're seeing in the upper left there's that little blue bar under my health. So that's actually my energy. And if you use the gun too much without recharging that, your shots will get a lot weaker and potentially slower as well. It does recharge very slowly on its own, but as you can see there, you can recharge it very quickly by slashing enemies. So it kind of requires you to go back and forth between those two different things, which I think is neat. You also have a special weapon ability that you can activate by holding down Y. Initially in the game here, it's just this little thing that sort of points out where targets are. That's basically it. Now, as you heard me say off the top, there is no scoring system per se, but as you kill enemies, and especially if you kill entire waves of enemies, you will get additional orbs, or I forget if they're called orbs or something else, but basically that meter sort of mostly to the upper right there, and that is actually your currency that you will spend on things like upgrades. So you want to try, that's your incentive to get as many enemies as you can, and in particular to get complete waves. Makes a big difference to that. And this will allow you to put in significant upgrades to your weapons to make yourself a lot more powerful. By the end of the game, you can become quite the tank. I found in the beta personally that some weapons were definitely better than others, and you know, some weapons might be better suited to certain play styles or people who want to do things a certain way. Also, another thing from the original Valfaris, you get a new weapon and he rocks the hell out. I love that. I think that's such a cool touch. It's even the same riff as in the first game too. So yeah, so I've personally found that certain loadouts are much easier than others. They may have tweaked the balance a little bit here in the final version. I haven't had a chance to go through everything to determine that yet. But yeah, but you may choose, especially if you're going to play this over multiple times, which, like I said, you probably are going to wanna if you pick this game up at full price. Gives you different ways to play, which is always nice. And in addition, there are actually secrets in the different levels. If you pay attention, some of them are a little tricky to find. Most of them aren't that bad. So you see here, after the first checkpoint, you can land, and this is where blood medals, that's what I was looking at. So yeah, you can use these to upgrade your weapons, and also as the blood gauge fills, as you can see, the threat level will rise and a champion enemy may appear, which is an enemy mid-game that poses a significant challenge. So you see here, you have your main weapon, your melee weapon, your auxiliary weapon, as well as 2 modules. These you'll pick up as you go. Every weapon has 3 different levels available that you can upgrade it to that will increase your power. They're weapons of very different types. Some of them actually include companions that will fight with you. One of the weapons you'll see here that we'll get very soon, so this isn't actually really a spoiler, is a shotgun. But to compensate for the fact that the shotgun has a really short range, you'll have this sort of ghostly companion that will follow you around that has a longer range gun, so you can it kind of helps balance that out and give you a more average range. So you see here, you also have a boost function. This allows you to boost through walls and also get you out of some hairy combat situations. And this is how you'll find the secrets. So like I said, if you pay attention, you'll find secrets in the different levels, and these contain various different types of bonuses and upgrades for you. They are actually useful. You will actually make yourself more powerful the more of these you can find, so it's good if you can get them. So for example, see right there, there's one there. Now that was just a healing item, but there are actual upgrades that you'll find in some of the 2. I don't think that one actually counted as a secret either. The secrets usually will take you up into a different screen. But very good to keep your eye out for those, and you can go back, you know, to previous levels to try to find those if you want. And yeah, you're sort of, I mean, you're really seeing the meat of it here. It looks pretty easy so far. I will say later levels get pretty difficult, but because this is a story focused game, it's not petty with things like checkpoints. There's no live system in this. If you die in this, you will respawn at the last checkpoint, and that's basically it. So it's because it's focused on the story, and that it's not, this doesn't play like an arcade shmup, and that's one of the things I find kind of different about this, because, you know, like, I like a lot of the sort of standard classic shmups that sort of adhere to a very familiar formula. But I also really like the ones that try to do something different with the genre, because the shmup genre was dead for a long time, and it's actually had quite the resurgence the last few years, especially in the PC. And I really like developers who try to do something different that definitely feels like a shmup, but takes the genre in different directions and tries to do different and unique things with it. And that's absolutely what this does. I think it's pretty interesting. I do think, like I said, if you're only going to play it once, it's a little short for the money, I think. But I've had a good time with this. You know, I finished it in the beta. That means I didn't get any of the achievements unlocked in it because they weren't available there. But I'm going to keep playing this and probably finish it again. And like I said, I may take a crack at it on the harder difficulty. This is one where I think I could pull that off. And I just love the original Valfaris. I love this whole idea just about what if X genre but metal as hell. And I think it's really cool that the dev tried to take what was a very well-made action platformer and then try to make the sequel something in a totally different genre. That creatively kind of takes guts these days to try something like that. It's definitely not what I would call playing it safe. And I respect any dev that's willing to do that, especially one that's willing to go into a genre that really has nothing to do with the original in terms of gameplay and mechanics and design considerations and things like that. I think this is really interesting, and it is fun as a shmup. If you're into score attack and you're into competing on leaderboards and things like that, that's not what this is. This isn't for you. This is for people who like shmups but want more of an adventure style experience out of it, I guess. Now that secret, there we go, the blood of Valfaris. So that secret I think I might have already picked that one. No, I'm in a new game, so I guess I hadn't. So that just gives you a big bonus to your blood medals there, for your upgrade currency. And there's other things like that you'll find. It's very good to go after those. I definitely didn't find them all in the beta, but a lot of them, you just got to keep your eyes about you and look for walls that you can break through. So yeah, here's the shotgun, and you can see an angel shows up to help you out. Really cool way to balance things. I think that's a neat idea. And there's tons of unique bosses in this. They all play very differently. They're all super, creepy, weird looking. Everything you want out of this kind of very metal experience. The style of the Valfaris games is very much one of their own, and something that they clearly, the devs clearly put a lot of effort into. And I appreciate that. And yeah, this is I think really well made. As I said, I do think it's a little bit expensive at its asking price, but people who really want to dig into this and do well at it, as a lot of shmup players do, they can get rather fanatical. I think there's a lot you can do here in terms of the different builds and the difficulties and all the different secrets you can find. And it's just playing a metal ass shmup is pretty darn cool. I enjoyed my time in the beta, and playing it again for this video, I'm like, yeah, this is still really damn good. And I'm glad I got to play it early, and I actually do look forward to finishing it up again. You're gonna see that there's I don't want to get too far into this to not spoil anything, but all the different levels in this are very different. They have their own unique environments, lots of their own different enemy types. As you can see, we got all kinds of wackadoo bosses here. There's just a lot. There's a lot in this, and it's, again, really impressive to see them pivot into such a different direction with the sequel to an already excellent title. And if I was going to suggest a Valfaris game to you, would I suggest this or the original? That's really hard to say because they're so different. If you don't like platformers but you like shmups, you should get this one. Vice versa, you should get the other one. But if you like both genres like me and you could only get one, I'd probably say get the platformer, just because I thought that was really cool and really did its own different things with it. But this is fun too, and especially if you like the universe of Valfaris and want to have more experiences in that, even if you're not a shmup person, you should probably grab this anyway, because it doesn't, even if you don't like shmups in terms of mechanics and how shmups typically are, this isn't a typical one of those. So it doesn't have a lot of those standard design tropes that some people might not like about shmups. This is not a bullet hell. It's challenging, but it's not brutally hard. It's not score focused. It's not combo focused. It's not anything like that. It's much more story focused, just with a bit of the core shmup mechanics wrapped around it. So you might even like that then. And if you really enjoyed Valfaris and still want to play a sequel of it, even if you're not into shmups, I do think you should give this a look, because I think there still could be something that you would like about this personally. And yeah, I've had a great time with it, and I'm going to continue to for a while, I think. So yeah, that's Valfaris Mecha Therion. It is out now. Highly recommended for people who like the original. And if you like shmups and want a different one of those, then you should definitely try this out because it's quite good. So thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you liked what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things. Leave a comment down below. Let me know, what do you think about this? What are other shmups that you like right now? There's certainly a ton of them. Are there other sort of more story-based shmups like this? That's what I've been calling it, for lack of a better term. I'd like to know what you guys, if you guys know of any of those that I may have missed. You can also follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction. I'm actually going to be focusing more on retro games and tackling what I call the deep backlog over there for a little while. But I do indies there too. It's a bit of a different format, and we have a fantastic little community there, and I'd love to see you be a part of it. Thanks again, everybody. I'll see you in the next one. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take her easy. What a way to end. Look at that. So metal.